excited to be here. We're going to talk about behavioral finance and AI. Why do we care about that? Why? How many of you feel that Colombians would have to save more money on their own for retirement going forward? Anyone? Wow. Then we got to find ways to do it. And if we don't understand the behavior of people, if we don't have the behavioral finance, it's going to be very difficult. Because the way we used to do it in most countries, we virtually tell people, we've got this great idea. We're going to take your money away. Why? Because you're going to have some money in the future. When? We don't know when you retire. How much? We don't know. It depends on the markets. Maybe more, maybe less. And that's not very attractive, as you could imagine. So we're going to have to do better. Why AI? Why? What does a behavioral economist do with AI? I can barely function a laptop. Well, we're going to have to find ways to actually do a couple of things. One is we're going to have to find ways to use machines to provide guidance and advice for people. We're going to have to do it at scale, and we're going to have to personalize it because people are different. And without the technology, we're not going to be able to do that. So in a nutshell, if we're on a mission to help people in Colombia, and that's a global problem in a lot of countries, but if we're on a mission to help people prepare for their financial futures, then we're going to have to find ways to engage them. And it's not the most exciting thing on the planet to talk about retirement. And we're going to have to move from engaging them to taking action, which is not easy given the complexity of financial decisions. And we're going to have to do it all in a way that is personalized and feels relevant to people. So let's talk about engagement. This is a related domain. We'll get to retirement savings, I promise you. This is an experiment with visual AI. So very much like, how many of you are using like OpenAI, ChatGPT, one of those AI tools? Why? How did we live without it a year or two ago? In any case, this is similar technology, but we don't generate just copy, we generate images. And in one condition, we tell people that they can put money and, invest in the environment, and we would move from, congested, slow areas to cheaper, faster, safer, if we were to invest in the environment. And they're not that keen to actually do anything. In the other condition, we just generate a picture of what the world would look like. We have them type the address where they live. We tell the computer, go there, take a picture from whatever the database that you have, and now create a picture of what it would look if everyone was using the bicycle and the bus and, doing all sorts of things that are environmentally friendly, but it's personalized. So if you live in Mexico City, you get a picture of Mexico City. If you live in Colombia, you get a picture of your neighborhood. And suddenly, moving from just words into an actual picture, people are willing to increase their support for becoming environmentally green and taking care of the environment. What's most interesting, it affects those who were most skeptical and hesitant to invest in the environment. So you could imagine now those who are least likely to save, maybe we could find ways to actually encourage them to start saving. So here's a fun experiment we're running with 300,000 people in the US. I think it'd be amazing to run with people in Colombia too. We call it the retirement visualizer. You virtually write about your retirement. So we just ask you, what do you want your retirement to look like? And this is a good friend of mine, and he said, I'd like to spend more time volunteering at my church, but I also want enough money to take my grandkids to Disneyland. In the US, taking your grandkids to Disneyland is like, it's a sign of the happy life. Don't ask me why. I hate that place. I mean, if I wanted to spend time with Mickey Mouse, anyway. But here's an interesting thing. We build a machinery to create an image. My friend is asking for two different things. The church and Mickey Mouse, not the same thing. Look what the machine figured out on its own. Created two pictures. The machine just on its own decided, what's the big deal? We'll create two pictures and put them on one screen. So we're experimenting. We'll know very soon if it engages people. We do show people sample images before they write and they get their own. Now, a very common critique of this is, we've used pictures and it doesn't work. We've sent everyone a beautiful brochure of how they're going to be on the beach when they retire, and nobody responds and nobody saves. Several problems. A, people don't relate to it, period, because they don't think that retirement would be such an amazing thing. They're kind of realistic that, it's not like suddenly they're going to have money for private jets and a yacht when they retire. But the bigger problem is we're providing the same picture to everyone. There's no personalization. Why would they relate to it? Imagine a dating site and everyone gets the same guy or the same girl. It's not going to work very well. So the personalization is important. And this is not predictive AI, where you have a database of 10 pictures and you're thinking Diego should get one picture and Shlomi should get another. It's your picture. You write and we generate it. It's not personalization anymore. It's hyper-personalization. It can't get any more personalized than that, because you're dictating what would be in that picture, and of course you could also change it. So let's talk about if we're able to engage people, which is not easy. If you think about it, if I had the magic solution to engagement, right, I'd be wealthier than Elon Musk and Bill Gates, because the world is about competing for the attention of people. It's not easy, and everyone is running to compete for it. So, but let's say that we're doing better with engagement. We're able to get the attention of people. We have to make it easy to take action. I spent a lot of my career working with Richard Thaler, the Nobel laureate, and he often says that if there was one lesson from behavioral economics is, make it easy. Make the right choice the easy choice. So how can we make things easy? So this is a program I worked with Thaler since the 90s. 30 years, it's a long time. We virtually came with the idea in the US, like what you're experiencing now in Colombia. In the US, we moved from pensions to kind of what we call 401k plans, defined contribution plans. And the concern was that people would not save enough on their own. So we came with the idea of save more tomorrow. Why not today? Because, it's like our diet plan. Tonight, we're going to go and eat and drink a bit and dessert. Tomorrow morning, maybe we'll wake up for the gym, maybe. But next year, we're running a marathon. We're going to be really fit. So a lot of people told us it's difficult to do the right things now, but it's easy to imagine doing it in the future. So we said, fine, why don't we save more tomorrow? Now, of course, the question is, when is tomorrow, right? Because it can't be literally tomorrow, because I need to pay the rent, and I don't have money, and I won't have money tomorrow. So it kind of opened a lot of interesting questions about tomorrow will not work. Would Saturday work? Well, I still didn't pay the rent. Would next month work? And later on, we found that actually tomorrow starts about 3 months from now. We can imagine doing the right things roughly in 3 months from now. But we thought, could we do better than that? And we've actually decided, why don't we save more money when we get a pay raise? You make more money. You don't have to cut your expenses. So we timed the increases with pay raises. So that's a great plan. And if we told you that every time you get a pay raise, you should go back to the HR office and fill a form and say that you want to save more and you should do it every year and don't forget to do it, how many would remember to do it? Nobody, right? It's too much effort. So we put it on an autopilot. So we asked people once, do you want to join this program? Every time you get a pay raise, you're going to save 3% more. Very aggressive program. And unless you change your mind, it's going to happen automatically. And there were two academics, me and Thaler, and there was a financial advisor setting up this program for us with an employer. By the way, took us 3 years to find an employer to do it, because everyone wants to be first after someone else has already done it. So he virtually said, we're going to increase it by 3%. We said, there's no way, it's too aggressive, people don't have money. This was a this was really kind of low to middle class, blue-collar employees at a manufacturing facility in the Midwest. They were struggling. These are not people making a lot of money. We say it's too much, they cannot do it. They say, you guys don't understand anything, it's going to work. I talk to those people, I know them, you are academics. So let's see what the results showed. So these are people who didn't want to meet the advisor. They were saving 6%. And as you could see, they keep saving 6%. What we got are people who wanted to meet with the advisor. They were saving typically 3%. He would tell them, you need to save a lot. Almost nobody can do it. And then he said, oh, we've got this other program, Save More Tomorrow. 80% of those who said we cannot save today volunteer to save more tomorrow. 80%. And this is what their saving rates look like. They just kept going up and up and up by 3% every year. They quadrupled their saving rates. If you look at the chart, there's so many interesting questions, like those lazy academics, why did they stop in 2002? Right? I mean, can't they just tell us where those people are today? Did it really help them retire with dignity? Lazy academics. Well, problem was the financial advisor passed away. He had cancer. So we couldn't continue monitoring the company. We didn't have access to the data. You might ask, this guy can't even do math. He told me they go up by 3% every year. Okay, 3.5, 6.5, 9.5, 11.5? Why not 12.5? Right? This is odd. So we found out that about a third of the people, after 2 increases, opted out. Not a single employee ever at this company reduced their saving rate to where they started. But we found out that a small portion over time said, this is enough for me, I don't want to go further up. I went up from 3 to 9 and I'll stick to 9. And to me, this is actually the best news. It's actually better than everyone keep going up. Because if people finally engage and personalize the solution to their situation, hallelujah, this is actually great. Okay, I think we could do a lot better given where we are now with data and technology. In the US, there's more consumer debt than defined contribution or DC savings. For every dollar in retirement savings, there are $2 of debt, but I am including mortgages. This is the world we live in. It's kind of the same in the UK. And it's very odd. Think about this as a bank who is looking at the assets and not at the liabilities. It's not going to go well, right? So it doesn't make sense that we're going to manage retirement assets without thinking about liabilities. So we started to think about how would we personalize the solution? And we kind of created a 2x2 metric that has incentives to save and incentives not to save, disincentives to save. If you think about it, if you have a match, if the company puts a lot of money when you put money, that actually is an incentive to save. On the other side, if you have a lot of expensive debt, then maybe you should deal with that before you start saving. If you're a single parent with 3 kids, 5 maxed out credit cards, maybe retirement saving is not today. And we started to create kind of all sorts of solutions, but the one I want to talk about, the one that I actually think is the most interesting, is the bottom left, which I will call save less today and even more tomorrow. If the employer doesn't provide the match and you have a lot of debt, maybe we need to start helping you deal with the debt and only then get to the savings, because it probably doesn't make sense that you're going to default on your credit card. I'm going to briefly talk about another experiment we ran. This is actually a very different setting. People are not saving for retirement. They might be saving to buy a new iPhone. Think about the people in this sample as Uber drivers. They don't even have a salary. They make their money in a way that is not really scheduled and predicted. It's raining today, I'm driving more, I'm making more money. It's not raining, people are walking, I make less money. That kind of an environment. And historically, we thought about savings as a monthly amount. And we worked with this company, Acorns, and since then the company grew, having millions of people saving, but we kind of say, what if we just think differently about savings? What if we're going to call this $5 a day versus $150 a month? Now, some of you are kind of in the details, and you're going to be like, it's going to be expensive. How are you going to move money every day? We didn't. We actually didn't matter what you chose. we moved the money on a weekly basis and we told people. So this is just how you think about it. Nothing changed in terms of the mechanics, which is beautiful because we didn't need engineering and all this stuff. This is what we found. 7% were willing to save a monthly amount, 11% a weekly amount, and 30% a daily amount. So think about it. We're now making it easier to think about savings. 4 times as many are saving. We changed a couple of words on a screen. We didn't even change more than 1 line of code. That's it. Okay? This does raise a big question that, I guess I don't have a good answer. Why the heck smart financial institutions don't put more money into mastering this kind of stuff? It's like, it's such a no-brainer, those little tweaks. We just got new fascinating result. This is even more fun, but I don't know if it applies, so I'll have to ask you, I guess. I know it doesn't apply because everything in Colombia is in thousands of local currency. But that was dumb of me. When I was in Israel, we had hyperinflation, so things were in the millions, actually. You actually had to be good at the zeros because you would buy things for $1 billion. But in the US, the amounts are much smaller. So we kind of have dollars, but we still have pennies, which is 1% of a dollar. And people still talk about dollars and they talk about cents or pennies. And what we've done, we went in a retirement plan, instead of telling people that they're going to save 6% of their pay, we told them that they're going to save 6 pennies for every dollar they make. It tends to make people save more, but what's really interesting, it doesn't affect people like you. Higher income, people who are good with numbers, more educated, doesn't matter, they can do the math. They know that 6 pennies, 6% is the same. You're not going to get Google employees or OpenAI engineers to change with them. But the janitors at the hospital who are not good with numbers and other populations who struggle with numbers, especially with percentages, they don't relate to it and they don't know what it means. So when you actually try to translate it, it makes it easier. And what we found is it completely closes gaps in savings behavior. When you actually frame it as pennies per dollar you make, you suddenly don't see any difference in the saving behavior of people with more or less income. So think how hard governments work, tax incentives, all sorts of stuff to close gaps in saving behaviors. And think about this intervention for a second. You just change percent to pennies per dollar earned, and you suddenly close the gap in saving behavior. Okay, this is kind of the same thing. We found the same things when we frame savings as a daily amount. Not only you reduce societal gaps in saving behavior, they disappear. They just disappear, which, I don't know, I got really excited about that. Maybe I'm a geek, but, that got me really excited. Okay, so we talked about several ways to make things easy. Whether it's autopilots like Save More Tomorrow, whether it's framing things differently like a daily amount, like pennies. But this is the most exciting time since I started to play with behavioral economics 30-some years ago, because there's so much more opportunities to scale the insights. So I'm thinking now of a nudge machine. Take an AI, you send AI to the Behavioral Economics University, and you say, why don't you learn how to nudge people? Here, go to the university, kind of a thing, the equivalent of that for the machine. Now, here's where this gets actually crazy exciting. How many of you have ever been involved in market research? You've been surveying some population of participants or clients, or been looking at some reports at your organization about clients and things? Anyone? It takes time. It costs a lot of money. We could just generate the population. The machine can actually generate populations of CFOs who are going to decide about the pension, of members, plan participants who we're trying to convince to save. So imagine we're generating, synthetically, we're creating a virtual population of 1 million Colombians. And you tell me kind of the characteristic, okay? Think about it. We can now take the machine that learned how to nudge, deploy it on an artificial population to master nudging people to save. Nothing can backfire. These are not real people. These are not real financial decisions. So all of this, you can kind of master the safety of the system before you unleash it to real humans. We've done this with people in the US who have a lot of student debt, and we find that the machine learns incredibly fast on synthetic population. It learns how to talk to those humans, even though they're kind of virtual humans. Now, it's probably even more exciting where you take it to the field and you virtually tell the machine, we want people to save, we want people to do this, this, that, here's the feedback, go figure it out. So this is kind of the world we're living in. So, I guess I'm not going to retire for a while because it's just too exciting. Let's talk about personalization. I think that's very important. People are very different. This is work I've done in the US with 2 large record keepers, retirement plan providers. And we virtually have software to help people create a retirement income plan to decumulate their assets. We were interested to find out how different are those people. Because when people are young in the US, think about UPS. How many of you get Amazon packages? Anyone? Last year I got more than 1,000 Amazon packages. This is kind of life in the US. Yeah, it's multiple times a day. You forget toothbrush and you could click and it shows up in 30 minutes. It's crazy. But think about all those UPS drivers dropping packages. UPS hires tens of thousands of them a year. They're all young. They're all healthy. They're all making the same amount of money. They're kind of more lookalikes. Some of them might have a lot of debt. Some of them might be married. Some no. There's still differences. We don't want to ignore it. But if we say they all should save about X, and this is a good way to start investing, it's not a bad way to start the retirement journey. Fast forward, David Nieto is a UPS driver in my neighborhood, been with UPS for 31 years, super healthy, happy, love his job, in his mid-60s. Not every UPS driver at that point is healthy. He's still married, got 3 kids, 5 grandkids. Some are divorced, some never had kids, and so on. So we accumulate assets, but we also accumulate differences as we get older. And we were wondering how different are people as they reach retirement. So we started with the populations of those two record keepers, but then we looked how many people are uncomfortable with the level of risk that is kind of the most common, with the typical one. And we found that some people, about a third, need something different. What about leaving money behind? Do you want to leave money? Some do, some don't. Do you want to spend the money earlier in retirement when you could still travel or not? Are you in good health or not? Do you want to claim your Social Security benefits right away? Or you're willing to wait and get a lot more? It's a really good deal in the US to wait. The bottom line is that nobody fits the typical plan. 95% need a personalized solution. So, you're probably wondering, how can it be that the most common choices are so uncommon? Right? I'm telling you, nobody fits the most common choices. Reason is, there are multiple dimensions to the problem. And that's why nobody fits the most common one. Let me give you an example, okay? How many of you have shoes? Yeah, I know it's a dumb question. Everyone got shoes, right? Great. How many of you have sneakers? Keep your hands up if you have sneakers, okay? Keep them up only if you have Nike sneakers. If it's not Nike, take down. Keep them up only if they're white. If they're not white, take them down. Keep them up only if it's size 43. Otherwise, take them down. Nobody is left. And probably a Nike size 43 in white color is probably the most common shoes out there, but it's just still a sleeve. So when we're talking about people saving for retirement, the most common preferences, how much to leave behind, how much risk to take, how fast to spend the money, am I in good health? Even though I'm taking the most common scenarios and preferences, they don't fit anyone. Very much like a Nike white sneaker size 43 might be the most common shoe, but it barely fits anyone. So we need to personalize. And I want to show you the crazy things we could do these days with just a bit of AI. So I'm going to ask my colleagues in the back to switch from the PowerPoint. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So this is a tool we've built where we virtually, let's see if I can, success. This is a tool we've built where we virtually have a machine chat with people about how to spend their money in retirement so that they fully enjoy it, but they don't run out of money too quickly. Because we always got that tension, right? Why did you save? To spend it in retirement. Well, go spend it. Oh, not too fast. You're going to run out of money. Now, ChatGPT has never been built to do math. Version 3.5 couldn't do 12 plus 23 plus 34. We could talk why I'm using that example, because it did know how to do 11 plus 11 plus 11. Because the way it learns, it looks online. So it probably saw someone talking about 11 plus 11 plus 11. But there were probably not many people who cared about 12 plus 23 plus 34. So when you asked it, it would get the wrong answer. When you tell it got the wrong answer, it would say, I'm so sorry, let me redo it, and it gave you another wrong answer. Later on, how did they fix it? They virtually told GPT, look, if someone comes and asks a question about math, just go use this calculator and go back, give them the answer. So when you think about our chat, it's exactly the same thing. We've got a machine that really knows how to talk to people. It's not built to do financial engineering. So whenever there's a question about financial engineering, we've taught the machine, go back, take it actually from the financial algorithms, don't try to learn how to do it yourself. And then it's just about how good are your guardrails. So the machine can be very flexible and just chat, but very strict and not try to invent its own financial solutions. So I'm going to plug here the UPS driver in my neighborhood. So I would say I was born in 1960, let's say. I make $80,000 a year. I saved about $420,000. I'm a male. Now, it's a machine, so I probably have some spelling errors because I can't see it here on the screen. The machine will figure it out. The machine can do it in Spanish. It's a machine. It doesn't really matter. It can do a lot of things. Then it's going to think, and it's going to create probably a list of questions. It's asking me what is my health, all sorts of questions. I can answer them quickly, and then it would just, figure out everything. So let's say I was born in January, and now it's asking all sorts of questions. What's your health? This one question predicts 8 years gap in longevity in retirement. One question. Think how much information we could get. In the interest of time, I would just tell it that all the assumptions are good so that we don't have to waste too much time. I'm sure I'm adding a lot of typos, but this is great because it's going to figure out all of the above. It's going to come up with a number. It's going to tell me when to claim Social Security. It's assuming some longevity calculations. It's very interesting. What do you think most people would say when they get this? Nice, not enough. I can now challenge the machine and say, what can I do to change it? And we can now start having a dialogue. Whether we envision a world in which the machine gets it to the finish line, or whether we envision a world in which the machine is just to engage and empower humans to coexist, a hybrid model of advisors and a machine. Doesn't matter how you think about it, it's going to be a win-win, because globally, we just don't have enough advisors. And advisors are not interested in all investors. They're interested in the wealthy ones. So we have to actually think about how to solve that. Gonna go back, please, to the PowerPoint so that we could stay on time and have my perfect. Thank you. Okay. This is really cute question. I'm going to go through it quickly and wrap up. This was a fintech company we worked with, and they wanted people to move to the higher paid tier where they offer more different types of savings accounts, but they're also going to make more money. And we looked at it, and they were calling it, kind of basic, premium, premier, whatever. And we said, what can we play with? They said, not much. Engineers are busy. I said, can we at least change a couple of words? They say, yes. So we labeled things, bronze, silver, and gold. And in the interest of time, I would tell you that the revenues went up by 17% because everyone wanted gold. Nobody cared about premium tier. Okay, let's wrap up. With the new technologies, we can and we have to find new ways to engage. Whether it's visual AI, whether it's something else, the competition for attention is really stiff. And we have to compete and we have to win if we want people to act. We then have to make things easy, but we have to start thinking how the machine can learn on its own to use the right words, the right frames, and make it easy for people to take action. And it's here and now. This is not fantasy land. We're already living in it. And of course, hyper-personalization is critical. Different countries are going to deal with different sensitivities. I do think we're going to have to create a regulatory framework that the industry can actually propose so that everyone would feel comfortable using those tools with end users and run with it much faster. And I would probably stop here in the interest of time. Thank you so much. And, I hope you're energized as much as I am about the opportunities to get people to save more on their own, because the governments can't always do it for them. Thank you.